Have you ever walked into a room, tried to strike up a conversation, and felt like you just weren't connecting with anyone? Maybe your hands felt a little shaky, or your voice didn't come out quite right. You told yourself, just be yourself, or go with your gut. But instead, it felt like your nerves took over. And afterward, you left wondering, why didn't they warm up to me? Or, did I do something wrong? If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Especially as we get older, making new connections, or even just navigating conversations with old friends or family can feel a bit more uncertain than it used to. Maybe we've had some disappointments. Maybe we've learned to guard ourselves a little more. Or maybe, deep down, we're just tired of trying to figure people out. Today, I want to share something different. Not a trick or a gimmick, but a shift in thinking that could make people feel naturally drawn to you, even if you're nervous, even if you're shy, even if you're not sure what to say. And it all starts with letting go of something we've been told for decades, that we should trust our gut. Now, I know that might sound strange, and we've grown up hearing that phrase. Trust your instincts, or go with your gut. But here's the truth. Your gut, as comforting as it sounds, isn't always your best friend when it comes to understanding people. You see, the brain, the part behind that gut feeling, is designed to take shortcuts. It wants to conserve energy. It's built for survival, not for truth. It doesn't want to slow down and consider. It wants to react quickly and protect you. That worked great when we were living in caves and needed to know whether something was dangerous. But in a world of relationships, subtle conversations, and human connection, those instincts can steer us in the wrong direction. Think about it. You meet someone new and your gut says, I don't like them. But maybe they were just having a bad day. Or maybe your gut reacted based on something they reminded you of. Someone from the past, a look, a tone, an expression, and not who they really are. Your gut is judging through a lens that's clouded by years of bias, memory, and even fear. That's why people who rely too much on gut feelings often misread others. They assume instead of assess. And that one shift from assumption to assessment is where the real connection begins. Let me explain. Let's say you're about to have a conversation with your daughter or your spouse. You sense tension. Your gut says, she's upset with me, or he's being distant, and maybe you start feeling defensive or even shut down before the talk begins. But what if, instead of assuming, you paused and assessed? Ask yourself, what kind of day has this person had? Are they tired? Hungry? Worried about something completely unrelated? Is this even a good time to talk? See, when we assess, we become more objective. We gather data. We open up space to understand, not just react. That's where influence begins. Not in trying harder to be liked, but in simply being more aware, more tuned in. Not to your own nerves or old patterns, but to the actual moment you're in. And here's something else most people never realize. People don't open up just because you ask questions. They open up when they feel safe. They open up when you've earned a certain level of closeness. And there's a simple but powerful way to understand how people share themselves. Something that can help you connect more deeply with almost anyone. Every person, including you and me, lives in 3 worlds. A public world, a private world, and a secret world. The public world is what you see on the outside. It's the smile at the grocery store, the photos on social media, the polite small talk. It's clean, controlled, safe. It's also the least honest. Then comes the private world. This is what we share with people we trust a little more. It's the conversations about money, health, marriage, disappointments. It's the quieter truths we don't post on Facebook. You only get there if someone believes you're not going to use that information against them. That you're not just being curious, you genuinely care. And finally, there's the secret world. the one we hardly ever let anyone into. The shame, the fears, the regrets, the deep emotional wounds. That one thing we carry that keeps us up some nights. This world is sacred. If someone lets you in, it's not just a bond, it's a tether. Once you're in someone's secret world, they don't forget you. Even if the relationship changes, even if years go by, you'll always be the one who knew. And here's the catch. You can't rush your way into someone's private or secret world. You can't force it. But you can be the kind of person who earns it, gently and gradually, by not assuming, by listening, by being fully present. And sometimes by showing just enough of your own real self first. That might feel scary, especially if you're nervous or shy. But don't worry, we're not done yet. There's another piece to this puzzle, and it has to do with how people perceive you, even before they really know you. Because sometimes it's not about how you feel, it's about how you appear. And when you learn how to send the right signals, people naturally feel more at ease around you. So let's talk about that, how you come across to others, even when you don't feel confident inside. Now, I know what you might be thinking. But I've always been a little shy. Or, I get anxious in group settings. Or, I'm too old to change how I come off to people. And I hear you. Those feelings are real. But the beautiful thing about how people see us is this. They can only judge what we show them, not what we're feeling deep down. That's why so many confident-looking people are actually nervous wrecks inside, and why the quietest, most thoughtful folks are often overlooked. Because the truth is, in most interactions, perception beats reality. It's not about faking who you are. It's about presenting the best version of yourself before your nerves get the better of you. Imagine you're meeting someone for the first time. Your hands might be clammy, your heart might be racing, and you're worried about saying the wrong thing. But what if, instead of giving into that feeling, you straightened your back just a little, looked them in the eye for one extra second, smiled, not too much, just enough, and asked them a simple question about their day? You don't have to talk much. You don't have to be charming. You just have to look interested. Because here's a secret. People don't remember everything you say, but they do remember how you made them feel. And when you appear calm, even if you're shaking inside, people will relax around you. They'll mirror your energy. That's the magic. Now, a lot of us fall into the trap of thinking we have to fix ourselves before we can be good communicators. We think, I need to be more confident. Or, I should read more books, take a course, do meditation for a year. And while personal growth is wonderful, it's also easy to turn it into another way to hide. Because if we're always working on ourselves, we never quite feel ready to show up. So here's the truth. Most self-help books won't tell you. You don't have to be fully healed. You don't have to be completely at peace. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to look like someone who is willing to engage. That's why the phrase, "fake it till you make it," has lasted so long. Not because it's about being dishonest, but because it's about choosing your energy instead of letting your emotions run the show. And believe me, this works at any age. In fact, after 60, you've got more power than you realize. You've lived through decades of real life. That gives you wisdom, depth, and presence that younger folks haven't earned yet. Use that. Walk into a room like someone who's already seen what matters and knows how to listen. That's more attractive than any flashy conversation starter. Sometimes just being calm and observant makes people lean in. Think of a time you were around someone who didn't try too hard, but everyone seemed to listen when they spoke. What did they do? Usually they spoke slowly. They paused before replying. They didn't rush. That quiet control sends a strong signal. I'm not here to prove myself. I'm here to connect. And if you're nervous, that's fine. Everyone's nervous sometimes. But don't lead with your nervousness. Lead with your presence. Let your body language speak confidence until your brain catches up. Here's a little trick I use that works wonders, especially in conversations that matter. I ask myself, if I were the most confident version of myself, how would I sit? How would I smile? How would I respond? And then I do that, even if I don't feel it yet. It sounds simple, but it's powerful. Because the body leads the mind. When your body acts calm, your mind starts to believe it. And so does everyone else in the room. Now, let's go back to what we talked about earlier. The 3 levels of every person's life. Public, private, and secret. When you enter a room or a conversation acting unsure of yourself, most people will keep you at the public level. But when you show up calm, curious, and grounded, you're quietly telling them, "You're safe with me." And that, right there, is how you start to unlock deeper levels of connection. Here's what happens next. People who usually keep their walls up start to soften. They lean in a little closer. They talk a little longer. They tell you stories they don't usually tell strangers. Why? Because you've shifted the energy of the interaction. You didn't force your way in. You invited them to open up simply by being present and grounded. And that's a skill worth practicing. Not performing. Not pretending. Just choosing to show up as the version of yourself you know you're capable of being. Because it's not about having perfect words or being endlessly interesting. It's about being someone others feel good around. And often, the first person you have to convince is yourself. That's where so many of us get stuck. We think, but what if they don't like me? The better question is, what if I like me first, just enough to show up fully? That simple shift, from worrying how others see us to deciding how we want to be, can change every conversation. It's like setting the tone of the music in a room. You don't have to be the loudest person there. You just have to play your tune clearly. The right people will pick up on it. And for the ones who don't, that's okay too. Because you're not here to win everyone over. You're here to connect with the right people. The ones who value what you bring even when you're a little nervous. So next time you're about to meet someone new, or even just have a tough talk with someone you love, remember this. You don't have to feel confident. You just have to choose to look confident long enough for the moment to shift. And it will shift. Because connection is not built on perfection. It's built on energy. And you have more power than you think. And the more you practice showing up like that, with calm presence, steady energy, and quiet confidence, the more natural it becomes. You're not pretending anymore. You're growing into it. What once felt like a stretch becomes second nature, and people start responding to you differently. They talk to you longer. They open up. They come back for more conversations, because something about you makes them feel understood, even when you're not saying much at all. Now, earlier we talked about the 3 layers of every person's life: the public, the private, and the secret. Let's go just a little deeper into what happens when someone lets you into their secret life, and why that's not something to take lightly. When a person shares something deeply personal with you, something they've hidden from others for years, maybe even decades, you enter sacred ground. Maybe it's a past mistake or a current struggle. Maybe it's something they've never said out loud until now. Once they tell you, they never forget that moment. And they never forget you. You become part of their secret story, part of their emotional landscape. You might not feel it, but they do. And that bond sticks, whether you want it to or not. That's why it's important to be mindful of the space you're creating. If you go too deep too fast, if you ask questions you're not ready to hold space for, you can leave someone feeling exposed, even betrayed. But when you build connection gently, with patience and real care, people will trust you with more than just their opinions. They'll trust you with their truth. And that's where influence truly lives. Not in being clever or persuasive or charming, but in being safe, being real, being the kind of person others feel lighter around. And the beautiful irony is, you don't have to be fearless to be that person. You just have to be aware. You have to be intentional. It starts with small moments. Choosing to listen without interrupting. Not correcting every detail when someone shares a memory. Not rushing to offer advice when all they needed was a place to feel heard. These are the tiny things that open doors inside people. You might not even notice it happening, but they do. And if you're thinking, but I've always been the quiet type, or I've made mistakes in the past, I'm not sure people even trust me anymore, I want to say this. It's never too late to build trust. One honest, grounded moment can change the direction of a relationship. One small shift in how you show up can reshape how someone experiences you. It's never about being perfect. It's about being present. And here's something else worth remembering. Sometimes people won't open up because they're afraid of what you might think. They might admire you. They might see you as strong or wise or put together. And in their eyes, you seem like someone who couldn't possibly understand their messy, complicated reality. But the moment you show them that you're human too, not by spilling your own secrets, but simply by being warm, open, and judgment-free, you give them permission to be real. It's not about digging for secrets. It's about being the kind of person someone wants to share them with. And that's what makes someone instantly like you. Not charm, not charisma, but comfort. The feeling of, I can be myself here. That's the magic ingredient. Now, let's go back to the idea we started with. Don't trust your gut. Maybe now it makes more sense. Because what your gut usually tells you is rooted in your past. It's tied to old stories, old wounds, old fears. But real connection, real influence, that lives in the present moment, in awareness, in the choice to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting quickly. So instead of trusting your gut, trust the moment. Trust what you see, what you sense, what you can assess, not just what you assume. And while we're at it, don't wait until you feel confident to speak up. Don't wait until you have the perfect words to ask the question or extend the hand. You'll wait forever. Confidence isn't a state you reach. It's a signal you send. And the more you send it, the more it reflects back to you. Stand a little taller. Speak a little slower. Smile when it matters. Hold eye contact for an extra second. These are small signals, but they speak volumes. Because here's what people are really picking up on. Your energy. And energy doesn't lie. You've lived long enough to know that most of the time, words don't tell the whole story. But tone, posture, a genuine pause, those things carry truth. And when your energy says you're safe here, people believe it. That's what makes you magnetic. That's what makes you unforgettable. So if you've ever felt like you don't know what to say, or you're not good at small talk, or people don't naturally gravitate toward you, forget the scripts. Forget the charm. Just be the person who's present, who listens, who notices. It's not about being liked by everyone. It's about being deeply respected by the right people. The ones who value real connection as much as you do. And maybe today, that starts with a choice. A choice to stop waiting until you feel ready. A choice to stop hiding behind nervousness. A choice to show up calmly, clearly, and with care. Not just for others, but for yourself. Because you deserve to be seen. You deserve to be heard. And you deserve to be liked. Not for being perfect, but for being real. So let's keep showing up, even when we're nervous. Let's keep connecting, even when it feels hard. And let's keep choosing the version of ourselves that leads with warmth, with awareness, and with quiet confidence. You don't need a loud voice to be heard. You just need to mean what you're saying. And that is more than enough. You know, the older we get, the more we realize something simple but powerful. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. It's not about impressing people. It's about impacting them. And most of all, it's not about waiting until the fear disappears. It's about walking forward, even with shaky hands and a hopeful heart. If you've spent years wondering why certain conversations felt harder than they should, or why some people just didn't warm up to you the way you hoped, please remember this. It was never because something was wrong with you. Chances are, you were simply relying on old instincts, old habits, trying to connect through assumption, not awareness. But now you know differently. You know that confidence is not something you need to wait for. It's something you can choose. And connection? That starts with small, present, intentional moments. Not grand speeches. Not a perfect version of yourself. Just the real you, steady and kind. You have something to offer that no one else can. Your presence, your story, your ability to notice, to listen, to make someone feel truly seen. And if there's one message I hope you take from this entire video, it's this. You are never too old to connect more deeply. You are never too late to be liked, respected, or even remembered for exactly who you are, nerves and all. So go ahead, try it. Walk into that next room, that next call, that next moment. Not with fear, but with quiet certainty. Show up just a little taller. Hold that gaze just a little longer. Smile like you've still got stories worth hearing, because you do. And when someone starts to lean in, when they begin to open up, remember, it's not because you said all the right things. It's because you gave them something rare. The gift of being fully there. If this message spoke to you, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me, have you ever experienced a moment when someone surprised you with kindness or opened up out of nowhere? What helped that moment happen? Your stories matter. And when you share them, you help someone else feel less alone. Don't forget to like this video if it encouraged you. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button for more heartfelt, practical advice from Strong Elderly Life. You're part of a growing community here, people who are learning, growing, and showing up just like you. Until next time, stay strong, stay kind, and remember, you don't have to be loud to be powerful. You just have to be you. Here's to living your best life at any age.